Good day, everyone, and a warm welcome to our Stressmapper in Business webinar. It's great that you can join us. My name is Lizette de Villiers. I'm the host, and I will hand to our two presenters, Peter de Villiers, the author and functional developer of the Shadowmatch system and still head of research and development at Shadowmatch, and then also Suzanne Conradi, our general manager at Shadowmatch. They will be doing the presentation today. Just a few administrative arrangements before we start with the presentation and all the detail. We are recording the session, as you've noticed, because we have a couple of apologies and people that have asked for the recording. So yes, the recording will be available afterwards. Charmaine will be sending the recording should you need the recording or wish to receive the recording, and she will also send and share the recording with those that have sent their apologies. You will notice that your microphone is currently in the mute setting. It will remain like that for the duration of our session this afternoon. It's really just to prevent any disturbances. On that note, we will not have time today for any live questions. So if you do have a question, please use the chat function. You're welcome to post your question in the chat. You can also, if a question pops into your mind, you don't have time to write it in the chat, you can also send us an email to info@shadowmatch.com. We do have another session, and that's important. Please note, dear delegates, on the 26th of March at 3 p.m. South African Standard Time, same time as today, 2 weeks from now, we will have another session on stress. That will be specifically about the principles of stress, how stress relates to the workplace. And during that session, we will look at the question about good and bad stress. Sometimes we refer to that as positive and negative stress. We will look at stress that can be too low and what is the consequence of this in a working environment. If stress is too high or the intensity is too high, what is the impact on a working group? How does stress distribute amongst the work group? Specific actions that you need to take. And then we will also look at stress and an invitation to individuals within the organization to act in their personal capacity. So you can hear that it will be a loaded afternoon on the 26th of March. And what we will also do during that session is we will then answer the questions that you post in the chat today or that you send to us via the email info@shadowmatch.com or info@shadowmatch.co.za. I think that's the most important things from my side. I will again have a last word at the end of the session. So for now, I'm going to mute my microphone and hand to Peter. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Lizette, and welcome everybody. Obviously, in the life of Shadowmatch, every year, sometimes more than once a year, we have these big days, big sessions, where we launch something that we have been working on for the year or for a few months or sometimes even a few years. And this obviously has been, well, is one of those days where we are in the position to launch one of our big development results or functions of the system. So let's start with a little bit of background on stress. I will share my screen and then we will talk through the notes so that if anybody watches the video or if anybody wants to follow us in a little bit of detail, then obviously we have the slides and the visuals available. Let's start. The first thing that we need to mention is that there are many ways of looking at stress. All these psychological constructs have probably, the most of them have got hundreds or more definitions and positions and schools of thought and whatever. Everybody has got their own idea. But sometimes in a specific area, somebody just surfaces with a definition that's been recognized very widely. And in this case, with understanding stress, the most widely recognized definition of stress is that by he was a medical doctor, Hans Selye. He was from Eastern Germany, Hungary. He studied in Eastern Germany, became a medical doctor, then specialized, and he was very well known for the research work that he did on a medical level for stress. And it's a quite widely accepted definition, obviously not by everybody. But he said that it is the body's non-specific response to any demand, whether pleasant or unpleasant. Let me just hold there. If you watch the videos and if you read the material that he published and the research papers, you'll see that he takes the position that whenever we react we are under stress. So stress is the way in which we react to whatever happens to us. This, me talking to you, is a reaction to a demand that is on me, and that is a stress situation for my body and for my psychology, my mind work. You also had the idea of a general adaptation syndrome that explains how the body copes with stress. He had a very long and extended medical way or explanation of how the body reacts to stress and reacts to the demands of life in general. And he worked on all the aspects, and he ended up his life as a very senior person in the world of research and lecturing. He was a professor of medical science, and he retired with this conviction that the body reacts only in a physical way. So the reaction that we experience as emotions are actually physical activities in the brain that causes the reaction to be experienced as an emotional or a thought pattern or whatever it is. He's got a very strong physical approach, but very highly recommended in terms of the research that he did, and highly recognized by the scientific world. From a shadow match perspective, obviously, if everybody can write their own definition, then we say, well, then we can also write our own definition. And we recognize the work of Dr. Hans Selye. But from a shadow match perspective, we would like to define stress a bit more in a narrow band by saying that it is a situation where the individual experiences the challenges they face to be beyond their inner strength to deal with it. So it's a situation, I become stressed when I'm in a situation where the challenges that I have to deal with are in my perception of the reality, stronger than my abilities to deal with it. So if I have a house cat that fights with me, and the cat is cross with me for some reason, I can deal with a cat. I can grab it and throw it out the window or out the door and say, go throw your tantrums outside. But if that cat is a lion, then the situation changes. Then what I experience is, this is not going to be that easy. If I then experience that I'm at the short end of this challenge, I do not have the inner strength or the physical strength to deal with this challenge, then obviously stress escalates in my experience of this situation. So just a very soft and a broad introduction to what we talk about when we talk about stress. The question is, when does it become a problem? When it exceeds the individual's ability to cope with the challenges they face. But this is a problem statement. Let me just explain why this is our position and the position of many scientists and many researchers and scholars and academics. The problem with this statement is, when it exceeds the individual's ability to cope with the challenges they face, is that sometimes quite a high percentage of people are convinced that they are coping with the challenge, but they're not. They think they're coping with it. But if you look at their situation from the outside, you can see it's actually quite clear that they're not coping with it. They're just not on top of it. But in their own minds, they are on top of it. They are convinced that they are quite in quite a good position. But there are symptoms, physical symptoms, persistent headaches, muscle tension, fatigue, digestive issues, all these things, and the list is long. We can add probably another 50 on the list. All these sort of niggles that we have in our bodies can be, it's not necessarily that it is as a reaction to stress, but it can be stress related. And in a high percentage of these conditions, they are actually stress related. Emotional symptoms, these are anxiety, conditions of anxiety, irritability, depression, sadness, continuous experiences of sadness, loss of energy, not having the energy to carry on with a day of work or the challenges of a full day, being overwhelmed, may suggest stress is becoming unmanageable. The problem is we do not notice this easily ourselves. Other people can see it, but we battle to see it in our own lives. Cognitive symptoms, in other words, the way in which we think about the world, difficulty to concentrate, short attention span, getting tired when there's a little bit of concentration work to be done, memory problems, can't remember, forget things, constant worry are another cognitive and other cognitive signs of excessive stress. There are many of these memory things, concentration, the ability to work with one thing and focus on it. So these are all the way in which the brain just, it's so busy dealing with the stress in our lives that there's not enough brain space left to deal with these ordinary things, everyday things that we have to do. Then we have behavioral problems, obviously, or symptoms, challenges in sleeping patterns, eating patterns that changes to one way or the other, increased use of alcohol or drugs, other hard drugs, medicine, sometimes an increase in self-treatment of medical medicine, or withdrawal from social activities, can all be stress-related. So these are all the symptoms that we can pick up from time to time in the lives of individuals that are stressed to the point where they start to struggle to deal with it. The question is, when does it become a problem? When it exceeds an individual's ability to cope with the challenges they face. In other words, when I am losing the battles, and I'm losing the majority of battles, and I experience within myself that life has become, it's just the mountain is just too high and the river is too deep and the enemies are just too many. It impacts our daily lives. When stress interferes with work, relationships, or daily activities, it becomes a significant issue. Chronic stress can lead to serious health problems. If you want to know about the health problems caused by stress, just ask your medical doctor. Just go, if you ever sit with a general practitioner again in your life, ask them, especially if they are experienced doctors and they've been in the business for 20 or 30 or 40 years, ask them, say, doctor, in your experience, how many of your clients come to your practice as a direct result of stress in their lives? And you'll be shocked to hear their answer. So chronic stress can lead to serious health problems, including cardiovascular, in other words, heart diseases, weakened immune system. This is the big thing. When people, we have lots of people, when they become stressed, they develop blisters and they start coughing and they develop some form of a cold or whatever it might be, because the immune system is being compromised by the stress, and then all these things start to get the upper hand on them. Mental and health disorders like anxiety and depression. If stress becomes overwhelming, it may be beneficial to seek professional help. And always, remember, always, if you have to refer somebody, refer them to their general practitioner so that they can just manage the immediate situation on a chemical level and then start with coaching thereafter. Stress and productivity. Stress compromises productivity on all levels: work output, resilience, relationships, time management, energy. Everything is being compromised by stress. The entire workforce of a business can be compromised as a result of only 10% of the workforce being stressed to the level where they struggle to deal with the challenges of everyday life. So this is one of the principles. There's a spillover, but we'll talk about that on the 26th of March. Then something about Stressmapper. We are here because of this thing that we've built, and we have researched, and our programming team has been working on it for months now. So something about Stressmapper. There's the logo. It looks quite nice. Don't overstate and don't underplay stress. This was the biggest challenge we had building Stressmapper. let me share with you what the challenge is. If somebody is stressed to a point of, let's say, 3 out of 10, and Stressmapper says to the person, your stress level is 7 out of 10, that result creates additional stress to the individual, and suddenly they're not 3 out of 10 stress, they are 6 out of 10 stress, because Stressmapper said they are 7 out of 10 stress. So we had to be very careful not to overstate the stress level of the individual. And we went through rigorous testing and live testing and feedback and testing and feedback and testing to get the algorithms to the place where we don't overstate. In other words, we don't tell somebody that their stress is on a level of, let's say, 8 out of 10, just to use a number, whilst their stress level is actually a level on a 5 out of 10. But there's another danger. And that is that somebody who experiences serious levels of stress, let's say 7, 8, or 9 out of 10 intensity level of stress, and we tell them your stress level is a 3 out of 10, then what we do is we actually cause additional stress for the individual. Let me explain. They then say, I cannot believe that you tell me that my stress is this low. I cannot live. I am on medicine. I am on this. I am on this because of my stress. And you tell me that the stress is on a 2 or a 3 out of 10. So we had to be very careful. We came to a very good, fantastic balancing point where we are convinced that the Stressmapper indication of an individual's stress intensity reflects a 95% accuracy on the real situation. But be careful. Some people overreact to stress. So if I have to go and write an exam, I can completely lose it. But the next person writes the exam with me. We have spent the same number of hours studying, and he or she is no stress, zero stress. So some people overreact to small situations of stress, and some people underreact. So we have to keep all these in mind. Stressmapper is a sophisticated set of stress buckets that help the individual to visually see where their stress accumulates and provide a report that explains and gives advice. Now, please, dear delegates and Shadow Match clients, users, and friends, remember, Stressmapper is, compared to the Shadow Match worksheet, a very lightweight system. It's the complexities of it is not even remotely close to Shadow Match. There are only 15 questions. The algorithms run off a it's the same engine, but the way in which the results are being calculated are much less intense than with Shadow Match. And the reason for this is we were very aware of it, that we wanted to build something that is very easy to use with a very high level of reliability. So we want to push the ease of use and the ease of understanding the way in which this thing works, so that the individual has much less stress to make use of the system. Group stress analysis does the same, but for work groups or teams. So you'll see when Suzanne shows it, the system does a group analysis of the stress of a team or a work group to see what is the collective stress of those individuals put together, and that it works on the same base, on the same algorithm as the individual one. It's just a bit more complex, but there are certain rules, and I'll explain if somebody asks it on the 26th. It is critical to read the report. Now, dear everybody, individuals in the individual reports and the group reports are not the same. So the report that I get from the system as a non-student is different to the report that a full-time or a part-time student will get from the system. So you've got to mark, I'm a full-time student, I'm a student, or I'm not a student. So that then split the questions into 2 sections. You get student questions or you get normal working people questions. And then those reports are different. They talk the language of the student or they talk the language of the normal working adult. But then the report for the group stress analysis is completely different to the report of the individual, be it a non-student or a student. So the challenge is we must read the reports. What we experience, one of the shortfalls of Stressmapper is that people, and Shadowmatch the same probably, people see the graph, the result in terms of the visual display, and they say, oh yes, I know what this is. They don't. Please make a note of it, that whenever you work within a company or with employees, with family, friends, or clients, please emphasize the fact that they have to read the report in detail. The report's very easy to read, no technical jargon, easy to follow. Student questions and answers, as well as the reports, are also different to that of normal working individuals. So stress must be addressed. The problem, dear everybody, is that we tend to leave stress until it becomes a serious issue. Stress must be addressed very early in the development of this phenomenon. We must not leave it to the point where it's a crisis, because then we are so compromised that the way back becomes a very, very steep climb. So for heaven's sake, don't let stress run away with you or your clients or your employees or your family or your friends. Take a position of let's try and understand. Step one, to understand the stress. Let's inform ourselves about the stress that we experience, and let's deal with it. Because if it runs away, turning the tide and turning the clock back is not easy. Some become very passive. Some people's reaction to stress is they just can't gather themselves to act. The stress has taken over their lives to such a point that they just don't have the energy to do anything about it. This is sad, because for most stress, there is a way out. The way out is coaching. We are very adamant, I am very adamant about the fact that a coach or a buddy who walks with you through the process of breaking a stress cycle makes it much easier. It's just a fact of life that having a friend that walks with you when you have to face a lion, then rather take 7 friends with you. But life is just easier if you have somebody on your side to sit with you, to think with you, to plan with you, and to keep you accountable for taking action to deal with the stresses in your life. Coaching is the answer, whichever way we look at it. I'll be very, very tough to convince on that one. Now, for employee wellness, step one is to get data on the system. Obviously, you can't help people if they don't complete the Stressmapper questionnaire. So you've got to, and we've given, Suzanne and Lizette will go into that detail, every business 10 free ones, so that you can get a feel for it, test it with whoever you would like to test it with, get their feedback, sit down with them, have a discussion with them, ask them what their feeling and their experience is of the report. Make sure that they've read the report, go through the report with them if they are comfortable with it. It is the first step in the process of helping somebody to deal with it in a positive and progressive manner. With that, thank you very much. We will do the second part of the theoretical side of things on the 26th of March. And with that, back to Lizette and Suzanne. Thank you, Lizette.
Thank you, Peter. I trust that gave you quite a nice intro to what to expect on the 26th of March with regards to stress and the theory and how we deal and cope with stress, and specifically to managers and leaders in the workplace. How do we deal with and how do we act to help individuals and teams and divisions in business experiencing stress? So thank you very much, Suzanne. I'm now going to hand to Suzanne. She will take you on a walkthrough, on a journey through the system, and demonstrate how it works on the system, what you can expect. Those of you who have not yet logged in and worked with the Stressmapper on the system, I don't expect you to have, because it was only made live late last night. So it's brand new to all of us. And Suzanne will take you on that journey. Thank you, Suzanne.
Great. Thanks, Lizette. Hi, everyone. It's great to have you with us. And I'd just like to mention that I love my job because hours and hours and hours of work went into this immense research, immense development. The developers up until last night making it live. And now I get to show you how awesome it is. So that's very nice. I love that this is my part of the journey. So thank you, Peter, for the insightful introduction, just to position what are we working with? What is this construct? What is this animal that we're trying to support the individuals in our organization with? Now, as you know, with Shadow Match, we always try to make it as easy as possible to get the value to the individuals or to get the value to the organization. Now, the same as Stressmapper, you'll see we made it very easy on the system. A very important note to remember is read. We try to give you the notification and the guidance there. So when in doubt, maybe read what the system is telling you. I'm going to do the same today when I'm logging in. So the good news is everything I'm doing now, you'll be able to do live on the system. It is live, ready for action. But I'm obviously using fictitious data and a fictitious company just for today. And then, yeah, I think let's jump in. So the good news is every client that has used anything on the system in the last year, we've activated 10 free stress mappers for you to experience it as Peter position. So when you log in, there'll be a nice pop-up that explains it to you. So even if you weren't here today, you will get the information just positioning what Stressmapper is. And then from that pop-up, you can start sending it out and getting the data in. So this is what I'm showing you now. So I'm sharing my screen. I'm currently logged in as a system administrator within a Shadow Match entity. So this is the NICE company or company ABC or whichever company using the system. I'm a system administrator and I've logged in, and now this pop-up is in front of me. It explains there, okay, what it is. It notifies me that I have 10 complimentary stress mappers. Yay, so I have a gift, and this is a little video explaining what is this thing. And then there's a nice button here that says, okay, I want to use this gift now. Obviously, I can always come back to this later if it's not opportune for you then, if you need to send out some other worksheets urgently. But if you want to use that gift now, we've made it as easy as possible. So you click on it, and now it's going to ask you, okay, you want to send this the stress map worksheet to individuals. Where are these individuals? In which sub-file or sub-entity in your organization should the data populate? So as you know, with Shadow Match, we have your file, and then you create your sub-entities of all of the roles or divisions or function within your organization. So this screen says, great, where should the data be in the end? So now it gives you a drop-down list here. All of your files would populate. Let's say I want to go to get the results in admin at the end. So I want to get the results in admin, and I want to invite from here. Now the system takes you directly to the send worksheet screen, and you'll see it automatically already ticked Stressmapper for you. So now we've done the process here to say, okay, you've asked us to send the gift, so probably you want to send a Stressmapper invite now. Obviously, you have the opportunity to send any of the other worksheets as well. They want to do Shadow Match as well, if you want to maybe activate the career report or something else. But for Stressmapper, it's already ticked. So all you need to do is you put in the individual's details. So you put in their name, surname, email address, and off it goes. Same as the Shadow Match, you can always add an additional message and you will be notified upon completion. Now, this is your experience as the system administrator. What is going to happen on the other side? The individual you've just invited will receive an email, and then it explains to them what is the organization asking of you. Now, why I'm mentioning this specifically is Stressmapper is a bit different than with Shadow Match. With Shadow Match, the organization always has access to the data. So you've invited them, they've completed the worksheet, and then their habit results will populate on your side on the system. A Stressmapper, no. We value the privacy of the individual because this is a personal thing we're asking about, their personal stress things. Only they would have access to their results. You as a business is going to use the result in combination in the group stress reports that I'm showing you a bit later in the session. But just don't, when you send the worksheet and you don't get the report, don't think, oh, something is broken, I need to tell Shadow Match that they need to activate it again. That's exactly how it is designed. So that is why when you send that worksheet invite to the individual, now I'm switching roles. I'm now the individual that was just invited by the company. The button here says, it explains to me, okay, Stressmapper, and then the button says, grant permission to use my Stressmapper results anonymously for group stress analysis. So the user is completely informed to say, listen, you are now giving consent to do this worksheet. You're going to get your own feedback here, but by clicking that button here, you give the organization permission to use your Stressmapper results anonymously, no names, in conjunction with the rest of the organization's data, so in that format. So that's just easy for them to understand, okay, I'm not going to now give them access to it. Okay, unfortunately, don't have time to go through the whole journey for the individual. There's a great webinar that explains Stressmapper for an individual and what the value is for an individual wellness journey. Today, we're focusing on the business. So off they went, they completed the Stressmapper, they immediately received their own Stressmapper report, and it's activated on their personal portal where all of their other personal wellness applications or functions are. You will be notified that they have completed the Stressmapper, and then when you log back into the system, now you can start working with the data. Now, what we've introduced, and it's actually been live quite a while, but we've just optimized this because we've now added another product. So now you'll see when I'm logged in, so now I'm back in the screen, I'm a system administrator, and now I want to work with my Stressmapper data in my organization. We now have this filter here to say, if you want to focus in on a specific function or a specific product, you can select that, and then everything you're doing is linked to that. So now I want to focus on my Stressmapper data. So I select Stressmapper, and now everything becomes Stressmapper, including the number of results that I have access to. So if you looked at the screen before I made that switch, you would have seen there were different results here, how many benchmark individuals, where. Now I can see, okay, Stressmapper, how many results do I have in which file? This would always be the total of individuals across the company. So that's skills grid, shadow match, everything included. But Stressmapper wise, I can see, okay, where have I extended the value to the individuals? Today I'm working in admin, and now I can start working with these results. So when I go to individuals and I'm still just logging in, just focusing on Stressmapper, I'll have a list of all of the individuals. And now I can see where are the Stressmapper results and what can I do with them. So this column shows me, okay, everybody that has the action there next to it, they have completed the Stressmapper. The cross obviously indicates this individual hasn't completed Stressmapper, but she is in this admin file. Now, if I click on Jordan, no, I won't be able to see his results, but I can go and grab more than 5 minimum results to go and create a group stress report. How does that work? I simply select. So now I'm selecting individuals that I want to understand the stress of this specific function in my business, the specific area. So any number of individuals, that can be your entire organization, an entire department, an entire team, however wide you want to get that stress analysis. The only requirement is at least a minimum of 5 individuals. Now I've selected the individuals currently on the screen. And as always, my actions button is my go-to button on the system. And now there's a nice new function that says add to the group stress map. If I click add to the group stress map, it's going to ask me, do I want to create a new group? So is this the first time that I want to create a group stress for this specific function? Or is there already a function, a group stress map that I have created? So I'll be able to add it to any of the previous groups that I've created. In this scenario, I'm going to create a new one. This is the first time we are analyzing stress in our admin function. So let's call the stress map group admin group. This is also your prerogative. You can call it whatever you want to call it Yaku's team or the whatever you know. Listen, these individuals, or this is the function that I'm analyzing. In my scenario, I want to understand in our admin department what's cooking their stress-wise. So I've given it a name, and now I can say create and unmark, because that's all I want to do with their results. And now on the screen, my Stressmapper group report is going to populate. Now, these are the functions Peter referred to in our introduction. The various buckets or segments that the worksheet analyzes for the stress of that individual. And now on the screen, I'm seeing a combined report of all of these individuals, and it's giving me the overall picture. So the segments, we focus on work, home, relationships, operation, body, safety, and financial stress. So the questions would relate to each of these functions, and everybody obviously completed this individually for their personal stress. And now I'm seeing, okay, all of these individuals combined, what is happening here? The next indicator is then an overall stress indicator to say for this group, where are we falling on this indicator here? Is it on the low level, the higher level? Where are they specifically? And then this is the report that they refer to. This is the important thing to read. So don't just make assumptions based on the visuals you see there. Yes, the visual is also explaining it to you, but make sure you read the detail, because the group report takes everything into consideration. The intricacies around stress, all of the great theory that Peter will explain in the next webinar as well, how stress spills over, how stress filters, how whatever happens in the dynamics of stress. That was what we needed to test and validate to see, are we reliably showing this construct here, and does the report explain that to true value? So everything of this happens in the back end, and you get to see the report. So make sure you read the report, and it would explain then for each of these areas for this specific function what is happening there. Let me just move the Zoom screen. There we go. Okay, so that's my Stressmapper group that I've just created. Now, at any time, if I want to go back to any Stressmapper group, I have this great button here to say, show me all of the stress maps. So I go here, and now all of the group stress maps that I've created in that organization will populate here. It gives you a nice overall summary view to say in each of these areas, in each of these segments, what is the current stress level? So is it green? Is it light yellow? Is it dark yellow? Is it amber? Is it red? What is the spectrum of that? Obviously, as explained in the report. So this is a nice, just a summary view to say in these subgroups or stress groups, what can I expect? And obviously, if I click on this, it would then take me to that report and I can get the detail. So this is something, as you start gathering the data, you would create the subgroups. That button takes me to all of my Stressmapper groups from any point in the system. So I can, for instance, do this. Let's go back to my home screen. And let's say I was busy working on Shadowmatch. I was busy working with Shadowmatch, sending out other things, working with the team analysis or something. And now I want to say, okay, listen, let me go and see those Stressmapper groups. This will always be my quick and easy link to it. And off it takes me to my Stressmapper groups that I've created in this area. Now, something I just want to show is what's going to happen if you're going to try to make a Stressmapper group with 2 individuals to say you're curious, you want to see what is their personal results. The system is going to stop you and say, listen, this isn't enough data. You need more individuals in that group. Let me show you what this looks like live. Let's go back to this file. I'm going to once again use my filter because now I'm telling the system, listen, I'm zoning in on Stressmapper. This is all I want to do. Admin, view my individuals. And let's just grab 2 individuals. This individual, these 2 individuals, they both have Stressmapper results. How do I see that? They don't have a cross next to their name. I know the Stressmapper has been completed. I go to the actions button and I say add to group stress map, create a new group, and let's just call it finance group for now. This finance B, I think I already have a finance group, great. And now I say create an unmarked. So what I've done is I've only included 2 individuals. Now I would have expected to see the Stressmapper results immediately. I wanted to see the report. Now the system guides me to say a minimum of 5 members are required to generate the group Stressmap report. Please add more members. Okay, so this is what I refer to. The system will really guide you to say, okay, now do you understand why it's not giving you that report that you expected to see in this case? The moment you have any 5 individuals, it will open. But remember, you don't just have to work with 5s. You can work with 300 people or 30 people or 25 people, depending on what is the scope of your analysis that you want to understand the stress in that function. Like I said, you see how easy it is to invite the individuals and there you have the report. So now you have the information to start the wellness journey in your organization. Now you have laid the map to understand what's cooking here and what are the next steps of support and intervention that we have. And just a very important thing to mention, remember by completing the worksheet, it's the first step in that wellness journey. For that individual to take that moment to mindfully go through their stress, to analyze it in a friendly manner. The worksheet isn't intrusive. It just helps them to organize their thoughts, those buckets Peter referred to. It already helps them to work through that stress. And then you obviously then have the data on their personal portal. They can work through their personal report, but this is then for the organization, the reports you would work with. Okay, that's sending the worksheet. Now let's just see, okay, we've talked about the user experience. I just want to show you what you want to do if you haven't received the free Stressmapper invites, because this is working from the pop-up. But let's say you're a company that hasn't used the system in quite a while, quite dormant for a while, but you've joined us today for the session because you saw the invitation. Welcome. I would like to show you how you then would use Stressmapper if you're in an organization that doesn't get that pop-up from the start. And this is also how any organization at any time can activate Stressmappers. I'm just quickly going to switch my screen, just stopping the screen. I just want to switch to a different company. Just give me one moment. Then you'll see, okay, how easy it is to actually activate the Stressmapper at any point in your journey on the system. Great. I just want to make sure I'm going to the correct file here. Great. Company ABC. Here we go. Sorry, just give me a moment. I'm just doing this for Poppy Act that I don't show you data that I'm not supposed to show on the screen. That is why my screen is not being shared at the moment. Okay, and off I go. Okay, I'm logged in. Let me share it. Right. Okay, so currently what are you seeing? I'm logged in an organization and I don't have that Stressmapper pop-up when I log in, but I want to activate Stressmapper for my organization. So what's been live is any organization now has the option to engage with Stressmapper. If I have the 10 gifts haven't been activated, you see what happens if I hover over that button, it says activate Stressmapper. If I click on activate Stressmapper, then it now gives me information to say, okay, listen, this is what it's about. If you want to activate it for your account, this is the steps that you can follow. Same information video to help me understand this construct or understand this function. And then if I click on activate, it's going to take me to this screen where I can then order Stressmapper worksheets. So any number of Stressmapper worksheets that I want, it can be 10, it can be 1,000, the number of Stressmappers that I want to activate on my file. I complete the details here and I submit the details. What then happens is we at head office get the notification to say this company would like to activate Stressmappers for their file. We make out the invoice, send it to you, and then the moment that we receive the payment, we then immediately activate it in your file. So the only manual step is that you need to please make the payment before we can activate it for you. So everything will happen seamlessly. You'll receive that invoice after you've submitted your order form. The moment you've activated the payment, then we can, you've submitted the payment, we can then activate it in your file. So that's if you don't have access to that pop-up, you can activate that at any time. Then the last scenario I just want to show you is, what if you've used all of your 10 free Stressmapper, you've loved it, and you want to add more Stressmappers? So you've worked with the worksheet invites, and now you want to add more. Let's see, will this company work? No, this one will work. Okay. So if I'm going to, no, this company won't work. Let me just switch it. Sorry, just switching back to my other company that you can see what it looks like in that format. Just give me one moment. So yeah, so this is then if the company has already used the 10 free Stressmapper invites, which will hopefully happen between today's session and the session of the 26th. And hopefully at that point you say, listen, I want more. I want to use more Stressmappers. Now I'm going back to company. Oh, yes, there we go. And I am logged in. Sorry for the moment of switching here. And we're back. Great. Okay, sharing the screen again. Okay, so now you see I don't have a pop-up, but my Stressmappers are used up. How do I activate that again? So if I go to an invite screen and I say, listen, I want to invite someone else to do the Stressmapper, and I get to the screen and say, but listen, my Stressmappers are done. I don't have any left. You'll see there's automatically a link for you to say, but order more Stressmappers. Sorry, I just need to activate Stressmapper. This is now great that this is happening, that you can see how intuitive the system is. If I'm going to go to Stressmapper, just need to move my Zoom screen. Sorry, your faces are in the way. There we go. Sorry for this last slide. Okay, if I'm going to activate Stressmapper and go to send invites. There we go. Do you see what happened here? Is now because I want to send invites and my stress mappers are finished, I automatically get the option here to say, click here to order more. We'll add this and a few other functions. We just want to make sure that's live for you if you want to start using more than 10 before the session. So if you click here, it's going to take you to that same order form as of the activation, and the same process will happen. You're welcome to tell us how many invites would you like to add, how many stress mappers. We get the notification, we process the invoice, you pay the payment, and off we go, and we activate it for your file. Okay, great. I think that's everything I wanted to cover system-wise. So just to summarize, you're now practically enabled to go and activate your 10 free stress mapper gifts for your organization. Make sure you choose the 10 individuals you would like to include in this wisely. To say, would you want to understand a specific team, a specific area of stress? So by choosing a collective group, you can now join those stress map results together and get the insightful group stress map report to help you understand the stress in that organization. On the 26th of March, we will explain more on this and how do you work with stress in a function in the organization. I just wanted to show you practically how you can activate the stress mapper. It's live. Feel free to click, and remember the system will guide you and you're free to read there. Thanks, Lizette, back to you.
Thank you very much, Suzanne. I think we could see in the comments everybody's quite excited, and it's great that we've launched this and that everybody can start using it. I really want to urge you, dear participants, to go and use the 10 stress mappers. In your organization, choose a department or a team where 10 people work together so that you send them those worksheets. We specifically gave you the complementary stress mapper worksheets so that you can see it in practice and that you can get feedback from individuals with regards to how did they experience it, how did they experience their own results, their own report without them sharing it with you. And then to look at the group stress map, work with a team where you really know that they're experiencing stress in the workplace. And then obviously once you've used the 10, you can purchase more. There was a question with regards to the cost. It's more or less the cost of the study report, not exactly, but because we have international consultants also joining, it's difficult for me to now give you the exact cost, but it's about half the price, less than half the price of the Shadow Match worksheet. So it's very cost effective. I also want to urge you that for those of you that are system users, that are active Shadow Match users, please remember you have received, when we launched the Stress Mapper for individuals, you all received a complimentary Stress Mapper worksheet. If you have not yet used it, I want to urge you to please do so that you can experience it yourself. I'm going to share my screen for one moment. To just show you, I've logged into my own personal portal. And remember, all of you that have completed Shadow Match have access to your own portal. And there you will see unstarted worksheets. So all of you that are system administrators, please log into your own personal portal and go to Stressmapper and find your complementary worksheet and complete it. It literally takes about 10 minutes to complete. Those of you that are system users, I'll ask Suzanne because I don't want to now show information that I'm not allowed to show. Those of you that are system users, we will show you how to get to your portal easily because you might not know if you log in where to find your portal. So I'll hand to Suzanne in a moment. Those of you that are not system users and that are attending the session today, it's Christmas today. We are also giving you a complimentary Shadow Match or Stress Mapper worksheet. Please, we don't have all your email addresses. If you would like to experience it, you can send an email to info@shadowmatch.co.za or info@shadowmatch.com. Tell us that you have attended the webinar. Charmaine does have a list of all the names of people that have attended, and we will then gladly give you a complimentary, just one Stress Mapper worksheet so that you can experience it and that you can then decide whether you have an opportunity to use it within your organization, or if you are a consultant, whether you have a client that probably would see a lot of value in a group stress map. Before I hand to you, Suzanne, just the last few comments. Remember that if you do have specific questions that we have not answered, I will check the chat in a moment. We will definitely deal with those questions in the webinar on the 26th of March. And those of you that have maybe joined a bit late today, the recording will be available. You can also let us know if you want the recording. And we will also on the 26th of March then answer questions that you might have. The 26th of March will be a webinar all about stress in the workplace, how it manifests, and how do we deal as leaders and managers and team leaders in an organization, as well as consultants consulting to clients, how do we help businesses deal with stress in a positive manner. Before I end and conclude, Suzanne, if you just want to show where a system administrator, when they log into the system, can quickly navigate to their portal. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Lizzie. Okay, so sharing the screen, I'm currently logged into the system. Now, as a system administrator, your access opens up two things. It opens up your organization's data, so in this case, Company Z, but it would also open up your personal portal. How do you switch to your personal portal? Is in the left main menu, you'll see there's a switch here. You can either log out or you can then go and access your personal portal. Now, you reading this, my portal literally means my personal portal. I'm the system administrator. So you click in this scenario, I think I'm Freddie. Yeah, so Freddie is the system administrator. He's logged in and here he can access all of his own personal reports. And then there we go. There's a new Stressmapper report for Freddie. He's completed the Stressmapper as worksheet, and there he can access his own interactive Stressmapper report. Or if you still have that worksheet invite, it will automatically take you from there. The invite will be logged there, and clicking on that takes you to the Stressmapper worksheet for you to embark on the journey. Just something else I can maybe mention is the recording that Lizette referred to. Remember, you would always have access to recordings of our webinars that have happened on our events calendar. Where do you find that? On shadowmatch.com or on the login screen of the system as well. If you go to events, it would open up the events calendar and there's all of the sessions that we run. If a session has happened, like the session of today, you would not have the link to join the Zoom session, but the YouTube recording will be loaded there. So if after today you want to go and view the session again, you're welcome to access it on the events calendar. And you're obviously more than welcome to look at recordings of other sessions that are activated here. Thanks, Lizzie.
Great. Thank you, Suzanne. And thanks for sharing the events calendar again. That's quite important. You will find links of previous webinars there. A last comment from my side before we conclude. I think it's important for you to understand why you need to keep your login details secure if you are a system administrator. Because you've now seen what Suzanne illustrated. If you log into the system with your username and your password and you're a system administrator or a user at a company, you use this ShadowMatch system, you send out the worksheets, you send out the reports, you have your own portal. And the moment you do Stressmapper and career report or study report, that's your information. So if you share your login details with other users within the company, they have access to your data. So if you are a company user, and there are more than one user within your company, please just contact your consultant. If you can't get hold of them, contact us at head office so that we create a unique username and password for each administrator. If there are 10 people within a company who administrates this ShadowMatch system, each one of those people need to have their own email address and password to log into the system because it gives them access to their own personal portal with their personal data. So I think that's not really linked to the Stressmapper, but it is important that you understand as a system user that it's so important that you have your very own unique login details. I think from my side, Peter, you can just show by the show of hands anything that you would like to add.
Lizzie, thank you. A question came in that I need to answer next week again, but let's deal with it now because I think it might be a burning one. Everybody, we must all understand that the Stressmapper analysis of an individual's personal life stress is a very personal thing. And if you as an administrator would like to have access to it, we cannot give it to you. We're not, first of all, we're not allowed by the POPI Act to give the personal information on that level to a third-party individual. But we as ShadowMatch are convinced that this is just too personal and it's too private for us to take the position that we allow ourselves to give it to somebody else. So there's not a chance that you will have access to somebody's personal Stressmapper result unless that individual gives it to you. So if I work with Suzanne and I say, Suzanne, but can I help you? Let's discuss your stress points a bit. And Suzanne trusts me. And she says, Peter, I've done a Stressmapper. Things do not look all that good. Then, and she trusts me, I say, if you don't mind, share your results with me and I'll be a buddy or a friend to work and think with you through this. But unless Suzanne gives it to me, there is not a chance that you will get it. Not from us and not from anybody else. So that's just the privacy thing that we want to uphold, and everybody needs to understand and to support us with that. We cannot give it to a third-party individual if the person that is the owner of the data doesn't give it away. With shadow match, is something different. It's completely something in a different scenario. So just to explain and to be with us on the same page with regards to this. Just to conclude that, take a feeling. Let's say you are in a very stressful situation. Your family is falling apart. And suddenly the HR person says, oh, I see you've got a family that's falling apart on your relationships. I mean, just feel it in your own life, what it'll do to you. So we're not going to do it to anybody. And that's why we need 5 people do a group analysis. And why 5? Because you can't start playing with them and say, oh, I'll take this one out, take this one out, take this one out. Oh, this is where Paul has stress challenges because I've removed. It's not going to work. So we want to create a credible and a system with a very high integrity that can be trusted by the individual. And please, everybody, support us with that and uphold this principle in our lives. Thank you, Lisette.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Susanne. I think I'm commenting on behalf of everyone attending the webinar. It was a great session. Everybody's excited as we are, I'm sure, to go and get started and use the Stressmapper worksheets. Yes, 10 complimentary. Use it, look at the data, see what the value is to you as an organization or what value you can add as a consultant to your clients. And please, if you have any questions, as I said, jot them down. There will be time on the 26th of March to ask live questions. So if you don't want to send an email, you can come and ask your questions on the 26th of March. We will allow ample time to deal with questions as well as comments. And it would be great if by then you have actually completed some of those stress mappers with clients. You've completed your own one so that you can actually ask informed questions. Thanks so much for attending. Thank you to the 2 presenters. It was great. I think we've got a very good idea of what to expect, and we look forward to seeing all of you on the 26th of March. Go well, everyone.